Hey there, how's it going everyone? Welcome back, Plant Abundance here. Today I'm going to be sharing with you in greater detail everything that you'd need to know about thinning fruit trees. Now this is a question that's come through on the channel, and this is information that I learned from years of experience and also doing a lot of research. So I hope to be able to share with you the information that I've learned to help anyone who needs it to streamline the process to get you on the fast track to growing nice healthy fruit trees with an abundance of fruits. So first off, let me begin by saying that manually thinning your fruit trees is somewhat optional, and that your tree is still going to produce an edible fruit and you're going to be able to harvest that and enjoy it. However, if you're looking to achieve optimum fruit tree health and top quality of fruits, both in size and taste, then manual thinning should be included as part of your overall fruit tree care strategy. Today I'll be going over what fruit trees benefit most from thinning, what fruit trees will probably be okay without doing any thinning, and what fruit trees don't need thinning at all. I'll also be going over the different type of spacing you're looking to achieve when doing your thinning, which is dependent on the variety of fruit, type of fruit tree, and the different techniques that are employed, both small scale, so backyard grower, and commercial, so somebody who's selling at the market, so that you have all the tools you need to move forward. So first let's talk about what fruit trees benefit the most from manual thinning. And that's going to be virtually all stone fruits and some palm fruits. So apples, Asian pears, European pears, peaches, nectarines, apricots, plums, and pretty much everything in between, so hybrids. A lot of these new trees on the market, delicious varieties, are a mixture of maybe two of those types, so like a plumcot, which is a plum and an apricot. Those kind of trees will also benefit from a manual thinning. Now of that group, the most crucial is going to be that of peaches and nectarines, as they produce many fruits and they can get quite large, and if you don't do the thinning, you may end up having some damage occur on the tree as the limbs can become overweighted and then snap. The least crucial of these fruit trees that you're going to need to thin are the smaller fruiting varieties, so trees like apricots and plums. So here I'm standing next to a Santa Rosa plum tree, one of my favorite backyard fruit tree varietals to grow. Very prolific, delicious fruits, and I'm about to get going on doing a bit of thinning here. As you can see, we've got some larger fruits, some smaller pea-sized fruits, and even some yellow fruits on this tree. So if I were to do nothing here, there would be a certain amount of natural fruit drop that's going to occur. So any immature fruits that are yellow are going to fall from the tree. Any flowers earlier in the cycle that didn't get pollinated are going to drop from the tree. And in a lot of cases, that's going to be adequate, that's going to be good enough, and you may not actually have to do too much manual thinning from there. On the other hand, if you see that you're getting a nice heavy crop across the board on the tree, chances are you're going to want to do some thinning. And so on these smaller fruits like the plums and the apricots, good spacing would be somewhere between 2 to 4 inches in between fruits. So on this branch here, I'm obviously going to leave that nice big one. I'm going to pull off these little ones growing nearby. You can see over here we got a little fruit developing and a yellowish one here. This one's probably just going to fall off anyway, but I'll just help it along. And so with fruits like plums, these smaller fruits, you can go ahead and pull them off when they're really small. Pea size is a good target. With trees like the peach, you want to wait till the fruits get about 3/4 of an inch to an inch large before you take those off. Otherwise it could cause what's known as peach pit split. These fruits are already larger than that requirement, which is why I already thinned this tree about 2 weeks ago. And with these larger varieties of stone fruits, so the peaches and nectarines, you're going to want to aim for about a 3 to 5 inch spacing between fruits, up to 8 inches if you're having a very heavy crop. And that's just going to help to ensure that you don't overburden these younger branches especially with too heavy of a fruit, and also that the structure of fruit tree that you've been developing is producing enough power to bring all of those fruits to full maturity so that you end up with a nice, large, juicy, really ripe, tasty peach. So palm fruits, so that of pears and apples, produce these clusters of flowers which will all turn into fruit. You can see we're actually starting to get some little fruits here on this Harrow Delight tree. Now each one of these clusters should be thinned down to 1, maybe 2 fruits. So here's where we had a cluster. I'm going to go ahead pull 4 of those off and leave 2 there for now. Last year I didn't actually have to do any manual thinning of this tree as it dropped the fruit naturally. So this is another case of a tree where very low overhead maintenance. This is the Harrow Delight, one of the earliest fruit setting varieties of pear. So look into this tree. And here we've got an apple tree, and same thing, producing a cluster of flowers that have yet to actually start producing fruit. So I'm going to leave these flowers as they are and let the natural course of things develop. And then once the fruit starts to appear, I'll go ahead and thin it back to 1 to 2 fruits per cluster. And on those years when you have a super abundant fruit set, you're going to want to thin these out to a minimum of 6 to 8 inches apart. Again, allowing those fruits to fully mature, allowing the tree to remain healthy and capable of bringing those fruits to full maturity with full flavor and excellent taste. So now let's talk about what fruit trees you can grow that usually don't require any manual thinning and do wonderful. So we're talking about trees like the cherry tree, fig trees, pomegranates, persimmons, citrus, and nut trees. All of these trees, generally speaking, are going to do just fine without any input from yourself. In the case of the cherry tree, which is another stone fruit, the mature fruits are so small that you don't have to worry about the tree overbearing its limbs or the size of the fruit. And you're probably going to see a bit of natural fruit drop as well, so the tree is going to manage itself just fine. Fig trees, the same thing. The fruits are a small to a medium size. They're usually spaced out on the tree pretty well, so you're not going to benefit from doing any type of thinning on the fig tree. Nut trees, like this all-in-one almond, as you can see, are naturally spaced out nicely, and the nuts are so small there really is no worry once again with the tree being damaged by overbearing nuts. Citrus is another tree capable of taking care of itself in most situations, and you may get some drooping of the branches. You could do some thinning, but if you don't, your tree is going to survive. It's going to be okay. You're going to get some wonderful fruits. Pomegranates, another type of fruit tree that pretty much spaces out its fruit appropriately on its own. And smaller fruit producing trees such as this white mulberry here, again, produce really small berries throughout the tree, and the trees will generally have a nice strong structure, so there's no imbalance. And if there is, nature will once again take care of that on its own. One exception to consider when talking about different fruit trees that usually don't require any manual pruning would be if you had a year prior where the tree did drop an awful lot of fruit, or it was looking diseased or had issues. That would be a case for the following year to go ahead and do some thinning of the tree and allow the tree to put more energy into repairing itself and creating a better structure. Natural fruit drop, although natural, can also be an indicator of some issue that the tree is facing. And if it drops just way too much fruit, that would be an indicator that there is an imbalance there. And again, you're going to want to work on bringing that tree back into health before you allow it to take off and take care of itself. So chances are you might be growing a different variety of fruit tree not mentioned in this video, and you're still wondering, well, how do I go about pruning this type of fruit tree? Well, you can use all the information that I put out in this video and use that to assess the tree that you're growing. Observe the way it's setting fruit, the spacing of the fruit, the vigor of the tree, and watch the tree cycle through a year growth if you need to. And you can come to a conclusion whether or not in future years you should be doing any thinning or not. So as far as fruit thinning technique is concerned, there's a few different ways you can go about doing it. Now if you're growing smaller trees, so dwarf, semi-dwarf fruit trees, nothing beats just manually hand pruning, and that just involves going around and twisting off the individual fruits. You can get really exact with it and develop the perfect structure, and although it is a little bit more labor intensive, it's all worth it in the end, trust me. I've also seen with the dwarf, semi-dwarf trees where you can actually prune limbs carrying a lot of the fruit. Depending on the size of your tree, you might cut, a foot or two of that limb, taking off 20, 30 fruits in one cut. And that would be one way that you do the thinning, is to do some pruning where there's fruits already set on the tree, and then you can go around and manually thin by hand as well. Now if you're dealing with super large trees that there's no way you can reach or climb up into, then there's a technique called pole thinning, and that involves building some sort of a pole and whacking the different clusters of fruit to knock some of them down to the ground. And again, you're just lightening the burden of the tree so that it can use all of its energy for the remaining fruits to produce a nice, well-rounded fruit and a healthy tree in the end. If you enjoyed today's episode or you found it entertaining in some way, I sure would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. New uploads every week, sometimes every day, and I'm always updating you on all the different projects going on around here. And so with that, this is Dan from plantabundance.com, wishing you all a great rest of your day. I'll be talking to you again soon. Take care.